my name is Chris Everard, and I just want to make this little video to discuss a subject which really basically the mainstream media have never ever covered, and the independent media are on the whole completely ignorant of this particular subject, and that is the underhanded secret influence of a group called the Zevites. Now, I make documentaries and I write books. That's what I do as my full-time job. And I've written extensively about the Zevite movement. Now, the Zevite creed, or the Zevite belief system, is pretty simple. It has its roots in Judaism, but it's not normal Judaism by any stretch of the imagination. What Zevites believe is that Satan is the good guy, and that they believe that the God of creation, which you see in the Bible, is actually evil. They had a Messiah, a self-proclaimed Messiah called Shabbatai Zevi. And that's where the Zevite label comes from for this group of people. And he preached in the 17th century that the Jewish Ten Commandments, the Mosaic law from Moses, should be turned on their head. So, in other words, the commandment of thou shalt not steal means, yeah, you can steal. Thou shalt not kill, you can kill. And it's very, very difficult for people to understand that right now there are Zevites operating behind the scenes in pretty influential jobs. I'm talking about jobs in the intelligence agencies, in governments, and in the Pentagon. I've been researching it, and I've made several TV documentaries about it, which you can watch on the Enigma channel. Now, Shabbatai Zevi, he basically crowned himself as the king of this Zevite movement. And in 1666 he moved from Izmir in Turkey to the Netherlands, and he gathered together an enormous international following amongst the Jewish communities of Spain, the Jewish communities of Germany, the Ashkenazis, the Hasidics. Many Jewish people actually followed Shabbatai Zevi, and his teachings came to the attention of the Muslim rulers of Turkey, because his hometown was Izmir in Turkey. When he returned back from his travels and he'd gathered together 100,000, 150,000 followers, and he'd been preaching incest, he'd been preaching brothers marrying and having sex with children, he'd been preaching all of this what we call satanic kind of theology. Do as thou wilt, do what you want, kill someone if you want, lie, cheat, steal, do whatever makes you happy, is at the root of this Zevite creed. When he returned back to Turkey, he'd come to the attention of the Turkish Muslim authorities, and they arrested him. And they said, now listen, okay, you've gathered this international following of Jewish people who have thrown away all of the traditional laws of Moses and tipped everything upside down and inverted all these laws. And you got a choice today. You can either convert to Islam, or we're going to put you to death. So he converted. Shabbatai Zevi converted to become a Muslim. And this created a big divide in his following, Jewish followers of Shabbatai Zevi amongst the Sephardic Jewish community in Spain. They kind of, couldn't believe that their Messiah, and he was the Jewish Messiah, would convert to Islam. However, this was an extremely snide and very devilishly intrepid thing for Shabbatai Zevi to do, because what he actually did is that he was able to then influence Islamic people. He dressed as a Muslim. He created this whole following in Turkey of tens of thousands of Muslims who today are called the Donma, D-O-N-M-E-H, Donma of Turkey. Now, on the outside, he would pray 5 times a day. He would, go to the mosque, and he, as I said, dressed like a Muslim. Behind the scenes, this gave Shabbatai Zevi a secret key, what Salvador Dali would call the secret lever, because during the day he was a pious Muslim, but at night he was loyal to his Judeo-Satanic Zevite belief system. And yes, they were murdering people in human sacrifices, they were murdering children. And the Zevites were basically then taken over by a guy called Nathan of Gaza. And then after Nathan of Gaza, the movement was taken over by a guy called Jacob Frank. Now, Jacob Frank was exactly the same as Shabbatai Zevi. He was from a Hebrew family, but he didn't convert to Islam. He converted to Catholicism. And what we see today is we see vast trafficking of babies and children. Many of them go missing, street children, in all of these countries which are controlled by the Vatican. This is a very important point, because Jacob Frank, who was a baron in Germany, he set up his own castle. He had a private army of 26,000 people. As I say, he was a Satanist, a Zevite Judeo-Satanist, following the teachings of Shabbatai Zevi. He was a baron in Offenbach in Germany, but he converted from Judaism to Catholicism, and that meant that from that era onwards, which is about the late 1770s, the followers of Jacob Frank, and he had 100, 150, 200,000 followers. As I said, he had a private army of 26,000 people, and they were all Judeo-Zevite Satanists. And what has happened is that we now have our present day situation, which is really serious. We have a Judeo-Zevite Satanist influence in the Catholic Church. They are sodomizing children as a matter of course, daily. I mean, they've paid out $1 billion in court cases, in settlements for child sex abuse within the Catholic Church. And what we can see is that now there is this new scandal. Again, it's not being covered in the mainstream media or even on the so-called truth movement news blogs. And that is that somewhere between 350,000 and 620,000 babies and children were trafficked by the Vatican in Spain and in Latin America. And what would happen is that Catholic nuns and Catholic priests, there's men and women involved in this Zevite movement, I can tell you that now. On the outside, as I say, they look like Catholic priests, but at night they're actually doing Zevite Judeo-Satanic ancient rituals. And what these Catholic priests and these Catholic nuns did is that they set up clinics, they set up hospitals. Women would go in and have a baby, they'd be pregnant, and they'd be drugged, they'd have anesthetic, and then when they woke, the women would be told, oh, there was a complication, I'm very sorry, your baby died. In reality, those children were born and they were trafficked. Many of them went unregistered. And this is a huge scandal. In Spain right now, at the moment, the figures are off the charts. It looks like there's hundreds of thousands of babies that have been trafficked and the hundreds of thousands of parents that were lied to by Catholic nuns and Catholic priests, and it was going on for decades. This is Zevitism at work, and it's something which I just wanted to tell you about in this film. And I've made many documentaries about the Zevite movement. It's very much alive. It influences the Vatican. It influences the world of Islam. In actual fact, there are Islamic people publishing blogs at the moment, and they are suspicious about the government of Turkey. They're saying that many of those ministers are Zevites. So just check out my website. It's ChristopherEverard.com, and if you want to watch my documentaries, it's on the Enigma channel, and that's enigmatv.com. I also make documentaries for lots of other TV networks as well, but the Enigma channel is completely uncensored, and my type of films, they don't last very long if they're uploaded onto video sharing websites anyway. So thank you for watching.
Jacob Frank Leibovich is the mastermind behind a global network of satanic cults. He taught that the Creator God was evil. Jacob Frank proclaimed himself as the true Messiah. He vowed never to tell the truth. He rejected every moral law and declared that the only way to a new society was through the total destruction of civilization. Murder, rape, incest, and the drinking of blood were perfectly acceptable actions and rituals. His followers established the Marxist system and have infiltrated Islam and Judaism. He was the Messiah of the Illuminati.